There you go.
And I will continue to watch for people to come in and mute them as they do. I'll do my best not to mute you.
That's right. That's right. Just yell at me or that's right. I won't be able to hear. Yes, I'll be able to hear you. You can yell at me if I need to unmute or something, but otherwise you're in control. There we go.
International unmuted symbol is just the waving of the hand.
I love seeing all these people coming in here. I have
Also, it's a lot faster if you hit admit all.
okay. We're doing private vote with David Jones right now, and so I invited some of our bold people as well. I'm loving it.
Good.
So again, up here we've got a bunch of, so just hit admit all. It's a lot easier.
Yeah,
There you go.
I'm just trying to get all these muted. So.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. So it's 1 o'clock.
Here we go.
Hey, you are on. Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
I will.
And let's get this program started.
Well, welcome everybody. It's an honor to be here. My name is Dave Jenks. I've been invited by your Market Center leadership to be with you. Let me just give you a really quick background. In the real estate business over 30 years. I began with it in upstate New York. I became a training director for Century 21. I became a regional director for Century 21. They moved me to Texas to become a divisional president of 7 states out of Dallas, Texas. And I watched this little company growing. I got there just as that ALC was meeting with Gary to reinvent the company and really set in place all of the things, the profit share, the Y4C2Ts, the open books, the commitment to agents, all of the things that have been part of Keller Williams ever since. And so I watched that and I said, you know, if I were going to invent a real estate company, that's the one I would be. Not like with Century 21, big corporate brand name company that I was with, but really like what Gary was doing. And isn't it interesting, 3 years later, Gary and Mo invited me to be part of that team.
You are muted, Dave.
To be a leader with the company that has led this industry into the new millennium, and to write the books with Gary, Millionaire Real Estate Agent, best-selling book in the history of real estate, Shift, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor, actually the top 3 best-selling books in the history of real estate. An honor to do that. And what I want to share with you is this idea of the power of your words, and that there's something about being able to convey your value proposition very strongly that's so important, and it's the key to becoming a great listing agent. So, now I know we have some people that are getting unmuted because I hear sound going on in the background. So if you can keep that muted, that would be wonderful. Let me tell you what I want to do today in this hour and 10 minutes or so we have, and then we'll open it for questions. What I want to do is share with you what it takes to be a powerful listing agent. Many of you already may be one of those. So for you who are brand new, I'll show you the picture of where you're going. For those who are in the middle, we'll say how to improve your game. And those who are at the top, just a reminder of how to really, really shape things up. But one of the things to remember, and I learned this from Gary and Mo early in the game, and that is your future is not determined by where you've been or where you are, but where you intend to go. So when you have a vision for your future and a set of goals that you want to achieve, and you're in real estate for a reason, I know that. You're here for this to be your professional success that funds, as Gary Keller says, funds your mission in life. If you want to be that, then that's your intention, and that's what will determine your future, right? Because there I was with Gary and Mo. We had like 2,000 agents. That's all.
Just because it'll be cute.
And so there's some talking. I don't know who's working on the mutes, but if you can.
And it's probably not, because you would need to be.
Okay, everybody. I hear Leslie talking, and we need mutes because otherwise it disturbs everybody. when that happens, I get muted. So I think we're back clear. Unless I get a message from someone, I'm going to assume that you can hear me okay. So here's the thing about becoming a powerful listing agent. This is what we're here for in this time, because remember, you list to last. Listers last. Why? Because when you list, you have credibility, and when that listing sells, you have more credibility, and you have that sign in the yard. As Mike Ferry taught me early on, he said, the key to real estate is list a home, tell the world you listed it, sell the home, tell the world you sold it, go list another home. It's really that it gives you credibility when you have listings. You can do just listed cards, just sold cards. It gives you your source of business. So today I'm not talking about lead generation, but I'm just telling you to be a listing agent gives you control of your destiny. Now, the other thing that I want to do with you is help you articulate your value proposition, because this is the key. The key is to really be able to put to words that which is important. It's really interesting. After I've been with Keller Williams for 6 years, it was 2003. One of my former staff members in Century 21 went to work with RE/MAX because her father was there, and she wrote me and said, Dave, this is interesting. I just came back from a meeting in Atlanta where we spent a whole afternoon talking about how to compete against Keller Williams, and they put your picture up on the screen and they said, here's their wordsmith. This is the Keller Williams wordsmith. He articulates their value proposition. Pay attention to what he's saying to agents, right? So I thought that was really interesting, but the truth is that's true, that I learned over time. And one of the ways I learned was that when I got into the world of business, I took the Dale Carnegie sales course, and I learned the profession of selling and how to do a sales presentation and how to articulate that. And then that carried me through, and the fundamentals I learned there carried me through my whole career. And I want to share some of those fundamental things with you, because what it does is it makes you a person of influence. In my 10 years since I was full-time with Keller Williams, now I'm back for 2 years on an independent contractor basis, working with them in the regions and Gary Keller. But when I was away, I helped build another national company called Master Networks, a business-to-business referral chapter-based company, and they voted me their person of influence. And I thought that was interesting. And I know that why it is because I really know how to articulate things well. And that's the skill that I want to pass on to you, because it does make you a person of influence, not just a great salesperson, but a person of influence. And of course, the heart of what we're working on today, because it's the heart of your real estate business, is building a powerful listing presentation. I remember going early on in my career to a big meeting with Mike Ferry. There were like 3,000 people in the room, and he got up in front and he said, we get paid in real estate for 3 skills: prospecting, presenting, and closing. Which of those 3 do you think is most important? How many think it's prospecting? And of course, every hand in the place went up, because it's Mike Ferry. That's what he teaches, is prospecting. And he said, no, it's not. How many think it's closing, that, you hang in there, you answer all their questions, and you get them to sign on the dotted line? And, maybe half the hands went up. And he went, no, it's presenting. He said, because until you master your presentation, your listing presentation, you won't prospect. You won't know your value proposition. You won't know how to answer people's questions. You won't have the confidence. You won't prospect. And of course, if you don't have a very good listing presentation, you're very unlikely to get the listings, no matter how slick a closer you are. So the heart of your real estate success is being a listing agent. First of all, well, that's what we say in MREA, the book. It's leads, listings, and leverage. You have to get business. It has to be listing oriented, because that gives you the control of the marketplace. And of course, you get leverage to last. But the key of it is building a listing presentation. When I graduated from the Dale Carnegie sales course, the thing we had to do was give our sales presentation in front of the whole class. And I would challenge you to do that. Get to the point where you can give your listing presentation, the fundamental part of it, not the back and forth part of it, the fundamental part of it, in front of your entire team meeting or in front of a group of people. Challenge yourself to do that.
So that's what.
Build a listing presentation. Okay, so now, a part of this is something that people don't understand, and that is the power of scripts and dialogues. This is really important and really powerful. I just want you to get this idea in mind. Scripts are the poetry of selling. Scripts are the way that you articulate powerful things in emotional ways instead of just the kind of normal mediocre ways, right? Scripts are the poetry of selling. And so you have to master those. A lot of us love to watch movies and binge on Netflix. So what are we doing? We're just watching people deliver scripts. Great screenwriters write dialogue that is really powerful and emotional, and then actors and actresses simply memorize it and deliver it. They, of course, deliver it with emotion, but it comes from the writing. So the thing, remember, is all great communication is built on great ways of saying things, and those are scripts and dialogues. Gary Keller says, agents have sold real estate before us. They've learned how to say things really well, and they have passed on to us those effective ways to say things. We call them scripts and dialogues. And so scripts and dialogues, fundamental to master those. We'll talk about that. And then I want to get us all really in this idea that words are powerful. Our energy is powerful. Our enthusiasm is powerful. Gina, my wife, works with people in energy and gets them to communicate more robustly with their full emotional energy. But the words themselves are important. And I want to introduce you to a wonderful set of books by Richard Bayan, B-A-Y-A-N. And one is called Words That Sell, and there's another one called More Words That Sell. And he talks about how to state things and how to state benefits in powerful ways. And he has all different ways to do that and how to get people's attention, what kind of scripts get people's attention, and both for writing and speaking, both. And then how to talk about yourself. Anyway, what's really good about this is you start to get the feel of what great language is. You get a feel for the rhythm of that poetry of great language, words that sell, the power of your words. And all of this is to gain your self-confidence, because we are in the most competitive sport there is. Real estate sales is the most competitive sport there is. It's entrepreneurial. You don't get business until people agree. You actually don't get paid till it closes. There's so much work that you do, and there's so much competition out there. And all competitive sports, who just watch the Super Bowl, right, and watch people competing at the highest level. And here's the interesting thing. What differentiated the winning team? Well, it's the guy who has 7 championship rings, more than any other team. And he's an individual. His name's Tom Brady. And here, you know what he has? He builds confidence, and he builds it in that team. And you know how he builds it? This is the key. I want you to get this. It's competence that leads to confidence. It's not, you can't affirm your way to that level of confidence. You can't self-talk your way to that level of confidence. You shouldn't be giving yourself judgmental and negative self-talk, for sure. You want to be encouraging to yourself, but the way you gain confidence in a very complicated sport like real estate is you get it through competence. When you get competent, you then have the confidence. And when you have the confidence, you'll list properties and you'll take control of your career. So we're in a confidence game. It all builds off the art of influence. It all builds off of having a powerful listing presentation. So let's dive in. There's 3 parts I now want to deal with. I want to deal with the competence issue. I want to deal with the communication skill issue. And then I want to deal with the presentational strategies, right? The scripts and dialogues. So why do people do business with you? Well, remember, for all the technology and all the marketing guru and all the stuff that has gone on, it's always been evolving, all that stuff. You know why people decide on listing with somebody? It's based on relationship, reputation, and trust. Those are the 3 words. Relationship, I like you, I know of you, I feel connected to you. Reputation, you have a great reputation for getting things done and making things happen. And I trust that you will do the right job for me. Those 3 things will always be there. That's how people make their buying decisions. So the first thing, it begins with building the trust of them. And how do you do it? Through your competence. And there's 3 things we get paid for in real estate: knowledge, skills, and attitudes. It's really important to remember this. And I'm not going to take a lot of time to go into the details, except to say, you have to build your competence here. And if you do, then you have something that's a reason for them to list with you, right? So knowledge, what do we have in knowledge? We need to know contracts, finance, and property evaluation. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I am a master of contracts. There will be 75, 85 or more pages of legal documents involved in this transaction, and I will review all of those, make sure they're filled out right, no mistakes, and that your interests are covered and protected, and you can be confident in signing those things because I'm a master of contracts. Now, you want to be able to say that in that assertive way. And by the way, I had an agent tell me 2 months ago, she said, that was such a relief to me to hear you say that, because I really know my legal side of this business. I know contracts inside and out, and I know all the details. And I've never thought that was a big advantage that I should put out there to people, but of course it is. That's what they want, that be able to rely on me. So master contracts, then master finance, because with buyers and sellers, you need to know whether someone's qualified, how to get them qualified, what programs are qualified, and your knowledge of finance. Top agents tell me all the time, Dave, new agents delegate too much of finance to their mortgage company. And yes, you delegate the approvals and pre-quals and, but the knowledge you don't delegate. You have that yourself. You need to know financing. And then the third one is the big one, property evaluation. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm a master at property evaluation. I'm not a licensed appraiser, but I'm actually better than they are at predicting what a home will sell for. And more important than that, knowing how to make that home worth more, be more valuable and more saleable, and get you the highest possible price for your home. I can do that because I'm a master of property evaluation. And I will tell you, that's the competence. If you are competent in contracts, finance, and property evaluation, you bring really, that's the heart of what you bring to your sellers. Now, there's also the skills. They need to feel from you that you're a good communicator, that you're a good presenter, right? That you'll be able to negotiate well on their behalf. So those skills are also skills. And we're gonna focus on those a little later, the communication, the presentation particularly, and then it's your attitude. All of the books that Gary and Jay and I wrote all begin with how you think, because how you think matters. Life is a self-fulfilling prophecy. How you see it is how it turns out. Your attitude at the beginning of a venture determines its outcome. And there's 3 attitudes that top listing agents have: intention, assertiveness, and commitment. Intention means that when they get things done, they're people of intention. They have goals, they have their 135, their 411, they have accountability, they get things done, they stay on track, right? They're high achievers, they're goal-oriented people. And you would say, and you want to be that. You say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, one of the reasons to list with me is I'm a person of intention. I set goals, I get things done. When I determine that I'm going to do something, I accomplish it. So when I decide to take your listing, you can guarantee that it's going to get sold at the highest possible price because I am a person of intention. Now, that's powerful, but become that. So that's your competence, that you're a goal setter, you're a planner, you're an action planner, you do what you do, you're disciplined, and you have accountability. Number 2 is, and this is a big one, assertiveness. See, I think almost every real estate agent could be more assertive than they are. Not more aggressive. I don't mean aggressive or manipulative. I just mean that they stand up and speak their truth and they say what they want and they get things done. I'll tell you, for me, this was a big deal. So here I was, a district manager for Century 21 in Syracuse, New York, making $18,000 a year, and I wanted to be the regional director of that region, making $125,000 a year at the time. And so I said, for me to get there, I have to be different than what I am now. And what is it? I care too much about what other people think. I'm too much of a nice guy. I just want to get along with everybody, right? And I realized, no, I have to have more courage than that. I have to be more assertive. I have to take risks. I have to stand up and say who I am and what I am and what I can do. And I did that. And I started to really build my assertive behavior. In fact, I found a neat little document called the Assertiveness Bill of Rights. And I posted it above my desk. And I started intentionally becoming more assertive. So here's what's happened. 3 years later, the man who was my regional director had left to become executive vice president of Century 21. And then the guy who replaced him was leaving for another job in Century 21. And so they needed to replace the regional director in New York, where I was. And they asked me to interview for the job. And I went out to meet with Marv. And Marv was getting, I could feel it. He was ready to let me down, you know, in a nice way. Dave, you're so talented. We're glad you're here. We're glad you're part of Century 21. And, you know, we've got a lot of competition for this. And I could just tell he was, you know, he was getting ready to say, but, you know, you're really good, but we're not going to hire you, right? And I said, Marv, stop. I want you to stop right now. I just want you to know this. The man sitting across from you today is not the same man you left 3 years ago in New York. I'm a stronger, more assertive, bold leader, and I will make that region rock. And he went, whoa, really? Well, okay, Dave, let's talk about that. And I got the job, right? Why? Because I had the courage to stand up and be assertive. And I only say this story because I think assertiveness is a big deal. You want to be able to say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, when you work with me, you'll find I'm an assertive person. I'm not aggressive. I get along very well with people, but I will never let them take advantage of you. I will stand up for what you want to accomplish. I will negotiate on your behalf. Why? Because I'm an assertive person. So powerful. Then the third one, the final one is commitment. And I learned this from Tom Caldwell, one of the pioneers of Keller Williams. He was the president of the largest independent real estate company in Denver, Colorado. And he saw Gary Keller at a meeting in Florida, and he resigned his job and took on and brought Keller Williams to Colorado, right in Remax's backyard. Amazing. He said, this is the future of real estate. And he built it. And then a few years later, he sold it for a couple $1 million. And he and his wife travel the world, which they love to do right now. His name is Tom Caldwell. And he said this to me, I'll never forget it. He said, Dave, success in real estate is about doing what you say you'll do. Doing what you say you do. Isn't that interesting? When you make he said, you shouldn't keep a to-do list, you should keep a commitment list. When you tell somebody you're going to do something, or you tell yourself you're going to do something, write it down. I just made this commitment. And then fulfill your commitments. Don't worry about the extra to-dos, fulfill your commitments. Be a person of commitment, right? And I think that's so powerful. So I think one of the things you learn to be is a person of commitment, that you do what you say you're going to do. Right. And so you would say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, one of the reasons to work with me is I'm a person of commitment. When I say I'm going to do something, you can take it to the bank. Promises made, promises kept. You can count on me because I'm a person of commitment. See, if you talk about yourself in those powerful ways, that's not bragging. That's not egocentric. That's just assertiveness, and it's strong. So there we go. That's our competence, right? As we build the competence of our knowledge, the building of our skills and the right attitude, then we become a person of competence, and therefore we have the confidence to compete, and we'll make great. It's the foundation of great listing presentation. So we have competence. Now let's go to communication. We have to be great communicators, and I learned this in the Dale Carnegie Institute also, right? His book, Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, is in the top 200 of all the books on Amazon, the tens of thousands of books Amazon sells every year. Right in the last 10 years, every year, his book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, is in the top 200. And it was written 75 years ago. Why? Because it's full of timeless truths. It's just like The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. I mean, it's still the best-selling book. It's the best-selling book in the history of real estate, 1.4 million copies sold. And it's #1 on Amazon.com today in the real estate category, and it was written 17 years ago. Why is it? Timeless truth. Timeless truth. Okay, timeless truth. So, okay, Manny's talking, and need to be muted. So just remember this: you want to build your career on timeless truth. So here it is: How to Win Friends and Influence People. To me, it's the key of communication. And Dale Carnegie says, here are your big three. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Give honest, sincere appreciation. Focus on what others want. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. He said, because when you get into that negative zone, it comes across to people and they don't like to work with it, even if it's not in front of them. Now, if you're with them, don't do it for sure, because even if they're doing it, because it's a negative state of mind and it's not where you want to be. And of course, in relationships, this is key. My wife and I work on this all the time. To not be into criticism, condemnation, or complaining. Certainly not about each other, but even not about other things, because it takes us to a negative space. So don't criticize, condemn, or complain. #2 is give honest, sincere appreciation. Maybe the most powerful script in the world is this: thank you. I appreciate that. Be a person who gives gratitude for everything they have, gratitude for what others do. Thank you for the opportunity to be here and earn the right to handle the sale of your home. Always give honest, sincere appreciation. And then the final one is focus on what other people want. As Zig Ziglar said, you will get what you want in direct proportion to the number of people who you help get what they want. It's the platinum rule, right? We know the golden rule, that's the platinum rule. You will get what you want in direct proportion to the number of people who you help get what they want. So focus on what people want. Make that clear that you're in the service business. You're in the business of helping them achieve their goals and getting their home sold at the highest possible price and making that smooth and easy for them. Focus on what they want. So those are the big three. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Give honest, sincere appreciation. Focus on what others want. And then here are the supportive six. Whoops, got to go back. The supportive six. And number one is be genuinely interested in other people. Let your curiosity drive you. Gary Gentry, who's the agent who closed the first sale ever in the history of Keller Williams back in 1983, still he was on that magical ALC that reinvented the company. He's been a leader in the company all the way along. He and his wife Melanie have this wonderful team in Austin.
Okay,
And he said, Dave, I will learn more about somebody in
Thank you.
30 minutes
Bye-bye.
than anyone else I know. I will learn more about them because I'm a person of curiosity. I ask them lots of questions. I listen to their answers. I probe more. And so this is the game of really being a great conversationalist, is being interested in others and curious about them. And then smile. I know in this age of masks, we get all this covering up of our nonverbal signals, but smile. Let your energy and your positivity come through physically, right? And then remember other people's names. It's the sweetest sound they'll ever hear is their own name. And don't say this to me, please. Dave, I'm not good at remembering names. No, I've never been good at remembering names. No, I can't remember names. Don't do that. Why would you give yourself that self-talk? It's okay to say I'm getting better at remembering names. I'm working on the skill of remembering names, but don't lock yourself in by saying you're no good at it. It's really an important skill. And it's a skill. Why? Because it's not easy to do. No one finds it easy to remember names. You have to build that skill. Why? It's two different parts of the brain. Your relationship with people that kind of feel good and know who they are and know their history and all that, that's a right-sided part of your brain. The labels, their name, where they're from, what school they went to, their kids' names, the pets' names, all of those labels are left brain things, and you have to work to bring them together. It's hard work. And how do you do it? Well, first of all, you write down their name, always. You write down their name. You come in with it on the notes. If you meet somebody new that you're building a conversation with, you write their name down. You write it down. And by the way, if you forget to ask their name and you're in the middle of the conversation, you say, whoops, I'm sorry, I slipped up. Remind me, what's your name again? Thank you, Mary. Okay, good. And make sure you spell it right. And if it's Elizabeth, do they like Elizabeth or Beth or Liz or Dave or David? What do they like? So remember the names, and here's the key to it. So write it down as number one. Number two is use it as frequently as you can. Dave, thank you for allowing me to be here tonight and earn the right to handle the sale of your home. Let me tell you, Dave, what I'm going to do in the next step. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, Dave, so I can get a clear idea of what you want to accomplish and how I can help that happen. How's that sound, Dave? Now you may say, well, gee, that's using his name way too much. No, that person will never feel that you're overusing their name. They love hearing it. So get good at remembering people's names, get better at it, use their name, repetition. Next one is encourage them to do most of the talking. See, until you get to the listing presentation itself, right at the core of where you're talking about why to work with you, why list with you, the benefits you provide, how you get the results you do, until you get to that point, it's all about them. All the rapport building, you're walking around the house, it's always questions about them, making notes of who they are, what they've done, all that stuff. It's all about them. So get them talking about themselves and talk about their interests, not yours. Here's a mistake a lot of agents make. They think that having a common set of interests bonds you with somebody. So they'll say, well, what kind of recreation do you like? Oh, I like golf. You like golf? Oh, me too. I love golf. I'm addicted to golf. I'm a 5.2 handicap. What's yours? I'm a member of Oak Hill Country Club. Are you a member of a club? What kind of great courses have you played that you've liked? I got to play Pebble Beach. Isn't that amazing? And there you are. What are you doing? You're talking about yourself. You're actually almost competing with them. You're taking the attention away from them by doing the me too thing. So avoid the Me Too thing. Let it be about them. If they like movies and you like movies, use your intelligence to ask them, hey, what kind of movies do you really like? That's great. Are there any actors or actresses you particularly follow, or directors? What movies have you seen recently that you recommend that I go see, right? Use that for them to talk, not for you to do the Me Too thing. And then finally, make others feel important. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm here to apply for the job of getting your home sold. And I know you're the boss, and I know I have to meet your standards. And by the way, when you work with me, you will always find I will provide you all the right information, the best guidance, but we will do what you want to do because you're the boss. See, they are, and by the way, if they are in an important position, honor that. If they served in the military, say thank you for your service. Any way you can help them know that you're giving them respect and making them feel important is really good, right? So there's the supportive 6. Be genuinely interested in others. Let your curiosity drive you. Smile, let your positive energy come through. Remember people's names, do it repetitively, master that skill. Encourage others to talk about themselves, talk about their interests. Don't do the Me Too thing, right? And then make others feel important. So we've done competence in communication. Now it's time to dive into the concepts of the presentation. And the first thing to understand is that scripts are the master. Scripts are the poetry of sales communication. It's saying things in powerful way. I tell you, Linda Mckissick, let me tell you the story of Linda Mckissick. Many of you may know Linda, may have heard her talk and teach. She's one of the iconic agents in Keller Williams. She was failing out of real estate in 1991, failing out, ready to quit. And 8 years later, she had a 7th level team. She's failing in 91. 8 years later, the Mckissick Group, our systems are your solution. That was their motto. Closed 352 sales that year. She has 4 admins, 5 buyer specialists, 2 listing specialists, and a manager. She's got someone running it. She's not even there day to day. She's putting in maybe 5 or 6 hours a week and raising her 3 children. She got there and she said, Dave, here's how I did it. I learned how to talk effectively. She said, I was kind of a country girl, tell it like it was. And what I had to realize was I was boring. And then I would listen to these other agents and they spoke so well. And I started to learn from them. And then I started to read the scripts, and I started to master the scripts, and I started to understand why they were important. And I became very powerful at asking for business and getting it, making listing presentations, making buyer rep presentations, and then in my leadership, because I followed scripts and dialogues. So I'm just going to say to you, and Gary Keller and I would say, you want to memorize the most powerful ways to say things. The way Linda said it was, she said, you want to learn to state the obvious or common in emotionally powerful ways. Now, the way you do it, Gary Keller says, agents have sold before us. And they've done it very well, and they've learned how to speak effectively and what works. And they have passed on down to us these scripts, these powerful ways to say things. And our job is simply to memorize those and absorb them. So we memorize, we internalize. Remember, these great actors and actresses we watch, they're not changing the script. The screenwriter's writing the script, they're delivering it. They memorize it. Now, when you memorize it, you also get to feel the emotional power of it. The neat thing about memorizing is it changes the way you talk. You start to feel the poetry and the energy, and you start to talk more effectively that way. So you memorize, you internalize. Customize means you just use whatever is appropriate. Like one of the most powerful scripts is handle the sale of the home. Handle the sale of your home. That's a script. It's a way to talk, not list it, market it, sell it. That's mediocre. No, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, my job is to handle the sale of your home. I'm applying for the job of handling the sale of your home. It's fiduciary, right? It's big. It's all the way from the beginning to the end, and I handle it, right? Much more powerful than saying list it, market it, or sell it. So memorize your scripts and dialogues. And one of the things we have to do is we have to practice this skill of memorization. I love to memorize, quotes like Earl Nightingale's quote about success. Success is the progressive realization of personal, predetermined, worthwhile goals, right? That's the definition. Or like I said about Zig Ziglar, right? You will get what you want in direct proportion to the number of people who help get what they want. Or my success in real estate will be in direct proportion to the number of people who, when they think of real estate, think of me. I mean, these are great concepts and quotes, and get those in your mind. I even like to memorize poetry. You know, like as we were coming into COVID, I was reminded of Rudyard Kipling's poem, If you can keep your head while all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself while others doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting or being lied about, not deal in lies, or being hated, not give way to hating, and yet not act too good or talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master. If you can think and not make thoughts your aim. If you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. Right, and it goes on for a couple more wonderful verses, and then it ends with, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, then yours is the world and anything that's in it. And more than that, life's battle you'll have won. I love that poem, but it's fun to memorize poems or verses or whatever, just because one, you can use them, but then two, it also gets you this skill going about mastering new things and new ways to say things. So let's dive into the presentation. We've done competence at the beginning, communication, and now let's focus on the presentation. So there's several parts of the presentation. There's setting the stage, there's making the presentation, presenting your key benefits, your tasks, what you do for them, your facts and benefits. And then there's the issue of staging and pricing. And then finally, maybe a discussion about commissions. And there's ways to talk about all of these things, and we're going to look at them. Right now. So here's the way we begin, by setting the stage. And I learned this one from Mike Ferry. Many of you may have heard it before. It's powerful. It's called the 1-minute listing presentation. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I've written down 3 important questions. May I ask them? First, do you absolutely have to sell your home? Okay. And second, are you willing to price it to sell? All right. And 3, would you like me to handle the sale for you? Okay. Now, why is that called the 1-minute listing presentation? Well, because look, it could go like this. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I've written down 3 important questions. May I ask them? 1, do you absolutely have to sell your home? Oh yeah, Dave, we got to be out of here in 6 or 8 weeks. Yeah, we got to sell it. Great. 2, are you willing to price it to sell? Well, we'd like to get the highest possible price we can, but yeah, we'll price it at whatever we have to sell it. Great. And 3, would you like me to handle the sale for you? Oh yeah, we would. Our friends just said so many good things about you. No, we want to list with you. Great. Well, let's get started on the job. See, you're done. You're done. You've got the listing. You got 3 yeses on your 3 questions. There's no need for a presentation on how you work or how much business you've done or the certificate you have, the credentials, training, all that. You know, all those things we think we have to do to justify ourselves. No, they've given you 3 yeses. Now let's get to work. Let's do the listing agreement. Let's start working on pricing, working on our marketing strategy. Let's get this home sold, right? Now, that's why it's a 1-minute listing presentation, because you don't have to go on too long. And a lot of agents just talk too long. I promise you, their listing presentation, the problem with it, it's too long and it's not organized. So here's a way to do it. Now you say, well, Dave, I might not always get yeses, and that's true. So it might go like this. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I've written down 3 very important questions. Ask them. 1, do you absolutely have to sell your home? Well, no, we like it here. We really love this home in this area, and we just thought we'd put it on the market, see what it would get. Oh, okay, good. Are you willing to price it to sell? Well, we need to at least get $1.2 million. We need to get at least $1.2 million for it. Okay, great. Would you like me to handle the sale for you? Well, you know, we're interviewing 2 other agents too. Great, thank you. All right, so what's happened in that? Notice I didn't buy into any of those or respond to them in any way other than to say thank you. Number 1, the first one tells me their motivation. Do they have to sell? Now, in the case of what I just heard from the role play I just did was I might not take that listing. If they just want me to put it on the market to see what it would do and they have no other interest or need to move, then I'm probably not going to take that listing. So the first question, the answer to the first question tells you their motivation. The second one tells you their education. So say they need to get $1.2 million and I know I'm going to have trouble getting, you know, anything over 900,000 for their home. And I know that. Then I know I've got an education job to do to them on how the market works and how pricing works. Okay, I just know it. I'm not going to do it now. And then would you like me to handle the sale for you? And they say they're interviewing other agents. And I know I'm going to make my presentation so compelling that they're going to want me to handle the listing. And then I'm going to say, great, I'll call those other agents. I'll call those other 2 agents and let them know that they can bring their buyers to your home to sale, but we've got your listing handled, okay? Would you like me to do that? Great, I'll be happy to. So just understand that you don't answer these, but they tell you where you are, right? And whether they're ready to start with you, and it can be as quick as a 1-minute listing presentation. So master that one. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I've written down 3 very important questions. May I ask them? 1, do you absolutely have to sell your home? Great. Are you willing to price it to sell? Wonderful. And 3, would you like me, you always bob your head positively, would you like me to handle the sale for you? Powerful script, powerful. Now, here's another thing. It's called, you want to get their attention, because often their mind's drifting some other place. They're thinking about a shopping list or maybe homeschooling or whatever else is on their mind. So you want to get their focus on you right now, because you're now at the crux of getting the listing. This is not, you've done whatever preliminary stuff. Now you're at the crux. So you go, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, at the end of our meeting, one of 3 things will happen. 1, you will decide to have me handle the sale for you. Or 2, you will decide not to list with me. Or 3, I will decide not to take your listing. Now, any of those 3 is okay with me. Does that make sense? Well, why wouldn't you take our listing? Well, I'm in the job of not only meeting people's expectations, but exceeding. And if I think I can't exceed your expectations, then I'll move on and you'll be free to list with whomever else you want. Does that make sense? Well, okay, right? So just understand that there's 2 things this shows. 1 is it gets their attention. We're making a decision tonight. We're not going to be putting this off, and you are really in control. You're asserting that we will make a decision tonight. One of these 3 things we'll decide tonight. So they now start to get focused. Second thing is you don't have dollar signs running in your eyes. You don't want to come across ever as being needy, like needing this listing. Oh, I really, this would be really good to get this listing. No, you're there to help them get what they want, which is get it sold, highest possible price, and with you taking care of all the details. So that's the attitude you have. And being able to say you might not take their listing just shows that you're willing to walk. In any negotiation, if you're willing to walk and the other side knows it, puts you in a power position. So just remember here. Now, the other thing is, it also sets the expectation of time frame, because agents go way too long in their listing presentations. An effective listing presentation, once you get to the moment of presentation, can be done in 20, 30 minutes, no more than 40 for sure. And so you want to set that expectation. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, at the end of our meeting, which by the way, should only take about 30 minutes, no more than 40 for sure, 1 of 3 things will happen. You will decide to have me handle the sale for you, or you will decide not to list with me, or through I will decide not to take your listing. Any of those 3 is okay with me. Does that make sense? Great. So now you've set the outcome. One final way to do this, it's called the safe island. I learned this from Floyd Wickman. It's powerful. He said, people always want to know what's going to happen next. And they're more comfortable with you when you let them know, here's what's going to happen next. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, in the sale of your home, here are the 5 things, the 5 phases we will go through, and I'm going to take us through those, or whatever it is. Anytime you can let someone know where things are going, it relaxes them, and of course it makes you be more in control and more organized. So this is called the safe island, and it uses a technique called stacking. Muted, so now I'm unmuted. So stacking works like this. It's a way to memorize things when you have a presentation to make. Like if you're presenting a class and you stack an object. I taught Dale Carnegie, and every class we had, we might cover 18, 20 sections of the class, and every class had an object stacked up. We had no notes in front of us. We didn't want notes. We wanted to be in contact with the people. So we had these memorized, and it's called stacks. It's where you put things on top of each other to remember something. So here's a good example of a stack to use safe island. On the bottom of the stack is the letter B followed by the number 4, B4. On top of the B4 is a stopwatch with 1 minute on it. You think 1 minute. And then out of the top of the stopwatch comes 4 steps, and they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. On the top step are a bunch of question marks all clumped together, and you think question marks. And then on top of that is a shopping cart. We call it a market basket with a bunch of numbers in it. We think market basket. On top of the market basket is a jail cell a window with bars on it and a prisoner behind you. We think jail cell. And out of the top of the jail cell is a spiral staircase of steps. And we think steps. So that's our stack, right? You got that? On the bottom is what? Before, then 1 minute, then 4 steps, then question marks, then market basket, then jail cell, then spiral staircase with steps, okay? So, and here's how it would go then if you were saying, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, before we begin, may I take a minute to tell you how I work? Basically, I use a 4-step process. First, I'm going to ask you a series of questions so I can get a clear idea of what you want to accomplish and how I can help. Then I'm going to give you enough market information for you to make a rational decision about the price to place on your property. And then I'm going to honestly sell you on the benefits of working with me and my company and how we get the results we do. And then finally, when you hire me to handle the sale for you, I will tell you step by step all the things I will do to cause your home to sell. Does that sound good? Well, let's get started, right? And so there you are. Now you've set, now they have this comfort zone of knowing exactly where your presentation's going. It's only got 4 steps, not going to take all night, and they're going to know as you go through each step. You look more organized and they're more relaxed. You got that? Okay, so that's called setting the stage. Now, hang on a second. Now, here's the heart of being a person of influence. This is the heart of selling. It's facts, benefits, and feelings. Facts, benefits, and feelings. That's what all selling is. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what the benefit you get. Here's how it makes you feel. I'm going to do this. This is what it means to you. This is how it will make you feel. Facts, benefits, feelings. Facts, benefits, feelings. Get in that rhythm whenever you're talking. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, as I said, there will be 75, 85 pages of legal documents. I will review all those on your behalf. I'll make sure they're filled out correctly, which means that you will be comfortable in signing them and have the confidence and peace of mind to know that your interests have been protected. Okay? Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you can ask me questions anytime, but I will, on a plan, report to you every week exactly where we are in the sale. So you will know exactly what's happening and what's going to happen next, and you will have that confidence and security and peace of mind. Does that sound good? Mr. and Mrs. Seller, as I said to you, I'm a master of the marketplace. So I'm going to give you all the latest market information, which will allow you and I to decide what price to place on your property so that we can get the most for it in these market conditions. And you will have that satisfaction and sense of well-being of knowing you got the most possible money for your home. Does that make sense? Great. So remember this, it's just that we're covering it lightly, but it's the core of all selling. Facts, benefits, and feelings, and really master the feelings part. This will give you peace of mind and relaxation. It'll make you feel respected and listened to. It'll give you confidence and security. You'll have a feeling of satisfaction and well-being. You'll have happiness and joy moving on to your new home, right? All of that, make sure that you tie into the emotional side of the benefit of working with you. All right, now pay close attention, because I'm going to give you the heart of the most powerful listing presentation I have ever known about. You ready? Right now, on one page. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, there's really 3 reasons to list with me. 1, you can trust me. 2, I will answer all your questions. And 3, I will protect you all the way through closing. Are you ready to work with me? Great. Let's get started. That's it. That's it. You don't have to go on with a bunch of other things trying to defend yourself or prove yourself or look like you're feeling insecure. No, the only thing that matters to sellers is they can trust you, that they will get all the information and answers they need from you, and that you will protect them all the way through the transaction. Right? That's all that they need to know. Those 3 things. It's what they base their decision on, and it's emotional. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, there's 3 reasons to list with me. 1, you can trust me. 2, I will answer all your questions. And 3, I will protect you all the way through closing. Now, if you think that's too short for you, you can expand it. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, there's 3 reasons you can list. You want to list with me. 1, you can trust me. People say they would trust me with their children and their bank accounts. You can trust me. Number 2 is I will answer all your questions anytime, and I will keep you up to date on what's going on. And I know what I know, and I know what I don't. So if I know the answer to your question, I'll give it to you. If I don't know it, I've got this world-class company behind me, and I will get you the right answer, but I will always answer your questions. And 3 is, I will protect you. I will look at all the legal documents. I'll make sure no one's taken advantage of you. I will make sure everything is moving properly. I will defend your rights. I will protect you all the way through closing. Does that sound right? Good. Let's get started. See, it's that powerful. Those 3 things are the reason they list with you. Now let's cover some fun things, right? So the other thing is there are details. I mean, there are details of what you do. In fact, the magic of MREA, the book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, it has so many magical pages, right? So many. But page 95 is a listing presentation on its own, on 1 page. You could make a photocopy of that, go into a seller, read it, the 10 things you do for sellers. And that would be better than 95% of all listing presentations they'll get from anyone. Why? Because it'll be about them and what you're going to do for them, right? It's so good. And then page 151 of MREA are the 14 ways that you market a home. And that's important. You could add something. You could add, maybe yours is 18 or take it down to 12. Doesn't matter. You're organized as to what you do in marketing to cause a home to sell. So here's what you would go. You finish that presentation, say, okay, now there's really 10 important things that I do to serve you and get your home sold successfully. How much detail would you like me to go into? Oh, Dave, don't worry about it. I mean, we really trust you. We know you'll let us know what we need to know whenever we need to know it, but let's get started. Okay. Or some others may say, yeah, Dave, what are those 10 things that you do? And you go, great. And I go right to page 95 and I just say, let me just run them really quickly. First of all, I'm going to ask a series of questions and do a thorough needs analysis so I know your priorities and your preferences and how I can help you achieve what you want to achieve. Number 2 is I'll give you enough market information so we can together make an intelligent pricing strategy to get the most money for your home. And 3, I will, as part of that, give you recommendations on property repairs and staging so that your home stands out above the other homes that people are looking for and gets more money. And then 4, I'll look at I have 14 ways that I cause a home to sell. We'll look at those marketing strategies and see which ones are most appropriate to your home. And then 5, of course, my real job begins when we get our first offer, because I have to evaluate it, see if we want to accept it, take it off the market, or if we get multiple offers, then I may have to go and negotiate and work amongst those and get you a final purchase offer contract that meets your needs, meets all our terms, maximizes your take-home pay, and protects your interests. That makes sense? Good. And then out of that agreed upon contract may come some requests for repairs that the seller is asking for. And I have vendors and I will coordinate with them and I'll get you prices and I'll coordinate all the repairs that need to be done. And then of course, as I said, there's a whole bunch of legal documents that need to be reviewed before closing. I will review them, make sure they're all filled out accurately. No one's trying to take advantage of you. And that they're all the terms and conditions are right, that you can feel free to sign those. And then finally, I'll be there at closing to advise you on any last minute questions you have or resolve any problems. And then I want to be your realtor for life. So after the closing, I'll serve you. By the way, do you have an agent yet where you're moving to? Because if you don't, I can put you in touch with a great agent, a really good agent. And then that agent and I can coordinate between your purchase there and your sale here. It's really a great relationship to have. Would you like me to do that? Great. And then of course, the sale of your home causes a tax event, and I will give you all the documents you need for your CPA or your tax prep person to do next year's tax filings in regard to your house. How's that sound? Good. Any questions on any of these things? Right. See, now you have shown them so much more than any other agent will ever show them about what you pragmatically are going to do when they list with you. It's not hype, it's detail. And it's important to master this. Now, let's do a few scripts that are really important to learn. First of all, we believe that being a fiduciary agent, that every client needs somebody who's acting on their behalf, a fiduciary real estate agent. And we want to explain that and put ourselves above any other sense they have of other agents who they're talking to. And you say, well, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I want to remind you, I am licensed by the state of California to represent you in the sale of your home. And therefore, I will place your interests above the interests of all other parties. including my own. And I am committed to get you the highest price in the shortest time with a minimum of inconvenience to you. Does that sound right? Yeah. See, you're now setting yourself up. No one else will talk about themselves that way. But it is so important to, one, do the authority. Mr. Maceros, I'm licensed by the state of California to represent not sellers and buyers and generic stuff. No, to represent you in the sale of your home. And then you tell them what that means. I will always place your interest above the interests of any other party, including my own. And I'm committed to get you the highest price in the shortest time with the minimum inconvenience to you. See, that's the standard triple, but it's also your standard commitment. So fiduciary, why list with me? Now, Linda Mckissick says, she said, Dave, you have to learn to state the obvious with emotional power. And I said, well, Linda, tell me, what do you mean by that? Well, she said, let me give you a great example. So she says, I say this, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, when you hire me to handle the sale of your home, I will immediately, tomorrow morning, notify all the other realtors in the area that your home is on the market, its best features, and why they should bring their qualified buyers to see it. Would you like me to do that? Oh, Linda, yeah, that'd be wonderful. Wow, that's just great. And other agents go, yeah, but that's just putting it in the MLS. And they would say, okay, now, I'll put it in the MLS and then we'll put a sign in the yard, and they just make it mediocre. You're stating it in the highest sense. By the way, this is why MLSs were created, so that we really keep people informed about buyers and sellers about what's on the market, and other agents can bring people to it. It really facilitates the sale, but take credit for it because you're making it happen. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, when you hire me to handle the sale for you, I will immediately, sense of urgency, tomorrow morning notify all the other realtors in the area that it's on the market, its best features, in other words, I'm going to promote you, and 3, why they should bring their what? Qualified buyers to see it. See, it's like they're getting so much better from you than they would from anyone else, okay? Now, learning to state the obvious. So here's a great one. Althea Osborne, who is a great agent for Gary Keller in Austin, #1 agent in all of Austin, of all companies for many, many years. And she started out, she had a great, I want to just share this as a separate from our technique, but this is kind of a lead generation technique. Here's what Althea would do. So she would watch these young tech companies that were starting up, and she'd find out who the owner was, and she'd go in and knock. She'd knock. Hi, Jim. I really am impressed with what you're doing in building this new tech company here in Austin, and I'd like to apply to be on your recruiting team. A recruiting team? What do you mean, Althea? Well, I know you're trying to get really talented technology people to move here. And so when they come in for an interview, I'll give them an area tour. I'll tell them why this is a great place to live. I'll have them talk with other people that have moved here. And, then if you decide to hire them and they come here, I'll even help them find a home. Isn't that interesting? The last thing was, I'll help them find a home. The first thing was, I want to help you recruit. See, and by the way, she did, and they relied on her. And after someone would leave, they'd say, okay, Althea, what do you think? Should we hire them? What was your impression of them? What did they say when they were in the car with you, driving the area? And then, of course, when they moved, then they did buy through her, and then they sold through her, and then they bought again. And she said they started to get up in $1 million homes because they were being very successful. And she said, every one of them wants me to advertise their home. They think their home should be advertised. And she said, that is just, so I have to answer that one all the time. And here's what I say. Someone says, so Althea, where are you going to advertise our home? And she said, Jim, let me educate you about how real estate really works. See, ads don't sell homes, realtors do. And I'm already investing half of my commission as an incentive for the best agents to bring their qualified buyers to your home. And as your agent, I will never waste your money. And I certainly wouldn't waste my own. See, isn't that powerful? Listen to that. See, first, she's assertive. She's taking charge. Let me educate you about how real estate really works. Just because they think you should advertise doesn't mean you should. You shouldn't. Ads don't sell homes. Ads bring more business to realtors, but it doesn't sell homes, right? And so expensive advertising does not help the sale of their home. And you say, well, Dave, all you're saying, with this investing my half of my commission is just co-broking. And I go, yeah. And I was with the real estate industry when co-broking wasn't everywhere. A lot of brokers kept their own listings. The only way you could get it was through the broker. There was no co-broking. But see, real estate has matured, and through the MLS and through broker arrangements, we now have co-broking, which benefits the seller and the buyer and benefits the whole industry and gives a platform and makes us as realtors even more valuable, right? So, but you are still giving up half of your commission. That's important. And that's how you're getting the home sold. So it's a great way to say it. Mr. and Mrs. Soto, let me educate you about how real estate really works. Ads don't sell homes, realtors do. And I'm already investing half of my commission as an incentive for the best agents to bring their what? Qualified buyers to your home. Now here's the kicker. And as your agent, I will never waste your money. And I certainly wouldn't waste my own. So it's interesting, whether they think that commission money is theirs or yours, you're not going to waste it. This is so powerful. Learn to talk like that. Now, here's another thing. A lot of people, we really need to be very proud of the company that you're with. It brings you an amazing competitive advantage. I remember in the early days when we first were growing and I was teaching agents to do listings, and they'd say, well, Dave, people will say to me, I don't know this company you're with. What is it? Keller? Oh yeah, Keller Williams. Let me tell you about Keller Williams. Keller Williams is the newest, most innovative, fastest growing real estate company in America and right in here in California, which is why we brought them here. Really? I didn't know that. Yeah. Now, of course, the game's changed, right? We're number one in the world, 40% larger than anyone else. And so we say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, let me just remind you that I'm with Keller Williams. And Keller Williams is the largest and most innovative and highly respected real estate company in the world. And now here's the kicker. Power comes in threes. Listen to this, because it sets you on the pedestal. And I'm with Keller Williams because at Keller Williams, I'm a partner in the business. I get to share in the profits. I have a say in all the decisions. And more important than that, I am empowered to do whatever it takes to best serve you. See, that's true. In Keller Williams, our agents are treated as partners. They get to share in profits through profit share. They get to have a say through the ALC in all decisions. And within ethics and law, they're free to do whatever they want to serve their client. That's how we view an agent, right? So it's still true, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. And I'm with Keller Williams because at Keller Williams, I'm really a partner in the business. I get to share in the profits. I have a say in all the decisions. And more important than any of that, I am empowered to do whatever it takes to best serve you. See, no one else will talk to them with that level of confidence and strength. And they will begin to be really impressed with how you talk about yourself and who you're with. Now, pricing is an interesting thing, and I would just refer you to chapter 7 and chapter 8 of the book Shift, right? We wrote, it's kind of like MREA 2, it's Shift, the 12 tactics of top agents in tough times. And chapter 7 and 8 are about pricing and staging. And it's really because it's full of a bunch of scripts. And so people often want to fight us on price, right? Like they want 1.2 and we know that you can maybe get them, 950 or something. So here's how we deal with this. Well, now Dave, we want to get $1.2 million for our home, and you go, oh, I got it. I am on your side. My job is to get you the most money for your home. So understand, I'm always on the side of the table with you. We're going to get you the most money possible. And both of us, of course, have to deal with the realities of the marketplace, because the marketplace and today's current buyers will determine what your home sells for. And remember, there's really two markets out there. There's homes that are on the market, but they're overpriced and they don't look very good and they're getting a few showings and no offers. Then there's homes that are in the market, they're priced right, and they look good, and they're not only getting offers, they're getting multiple offers. So as your agent, my job is not to list your home and put it on the market. My job is to list your home and make sure we are in the market, because we want to take advantage of a window of opportunity. What all the research and experience shows is we will get our best price in the first 10 days to 2 weeks of putting your home on the market. Why? Because all the other agents will pay attention to it then. They'll bring their buyers to it. And if we make a bad first impression, we're done. If we're overpriced or in bad shape, repairs need to be done, they're gone. They won't be back. Now, if we do price it right, then we'll get offers and multiple offers. So we want to take advantage of that window of opportunity. We certainly don't want to chase the market. I mean, if the market's going up, I price ahead of it. If the market's coming down, I price ahead of it. I always want to be ahead of the market because I want to get you the most money for your home. And all the research says that you will get your best price in that first 10 days to 2 weeks if we hit the market right. And that's what we're going to do. Does that make sense? Yeah. Let's get after it. Okay. So get really good at expressing you're always on the same side of the table with them. It's never a debate, ever. And you're just getting them more and more information, so they're making better and better decisions. That's the game we play. So there's pricing. And then the final one that I just want to hit from a point of view of scripting, it's commissions. So Dave, would you cut your commission? Would you do it for less? And I go, oh, I really respect you for asking that. I really do, because you have every right to get the best value you can and pay the right price that you can pay. And by the way, there's times, I love this business so much, there's times I think I almost would do it for free. However, I don't think my family would like that. So let's talk about commissions for a second. See, many people don't understand what happens to the commission. So let me explain. First, half of it, and by the way, I'm only using 6% as kind of a standard. It may be 5.5 in your area, or 5 or 4.5. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, you would talk about it in terms of what is the general pricing in your area for commissions, because they're always negotiable and they've never been fixed and they never stay the same. And it's a free market out there. So, but I'm using 6 as an example. So, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, half, 3%, goes to the company or agent that brings us the qualified buyer. So in a sense, it's not a commission, it's a marketing expense. And then of the remaining 3%, a third of it goes to the great company I'm with, Keller Williams, #1 in the world. Such value is brought to the listing of your home through them. And then another 1/3 of it, 1%, goes to my business expenses, my staffing, my technology, all the costs of doing business. And so that only leaves 1% for me and my family. And I know that you would understand it's very wrong for me to cut that. Does that make sense? Great. Any problems? Good. Let's get going. Now, by the way, I know agents that go at it even more assertively on this. There's a lady I know, for example, in San Antonio. She says, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, before we begin, I just want to be clear to you, I charge 1% or more more than other agents in the area. They'll charge 5 or 6%. I charge 7. Why? Because I do a higher level job. I know I'll get more money for your home, and I know you'll find it more valuable and worthwhile. So I charge 7%. Are you okay with that? Okay, good. And then on you go, right? So do not be embarrassed about your commission. The commissions in real estate have happened because this is the cost of selling a home. If you're going to involve brokerages and you're going to involve MLSs and you're going to involve agents on both sides of the transaction and the expenses of being in this profession, then that's what it costs to sell a home. It does, and you're just good at it. And so don't be embarrassed about your commission. And will others charge less? Sure. And you'll say, you know what? The thing you always have to question about then is if they'll give away their money, will they maybe give away yours? I don't know how they justify. I know that what I charge is fair, and I give full value for that. And you can feel that, can't you? Right? I mean, you just get that strong with it. All right. So we've covered a lot of territory. Let me kind of close with this. And then, by the way, if you want a copy of all of these slides and a publication I have called Dave's Favorite Scripts, which includes a lot more scripts than are here, maybe another 10 or 20 scripts that aren't here that are more about lead generation, and the Assertiveness Bill of Rights, and a copy of the poem If by Rudyard Kipling. If you'd like all that, just send me an email, dave@kw.com, Dave, D-A-V-E, @kw.com, and give me 3 ahas. And I'm doing this for 2 reasons. One is so I get a sense of what is coming through to you and all of us. And the other is so that you identify those things that are standing out for you. Ahas, Gary Keller and I believe ahas lead to action. When you have an aha about something, you then act on that. So yeah, send me 3 ahas from this presentation to dave@kw.com, and I will send you all those materials, including all of these slides, and I'll send it to you within a day. I make a promise on that, okay? So what I'd like to just simply close with, and then we'll open it up if there are any questions or comments that people want to make, is that is the most powerful listing presentation you will ever make is to yourself. the power of self-talk. I have been a student of psychology for years, worked on a doctorate in it, have applied it in all the books I've written, have applied it in my own life. And I will tell you, life is a self-fulfilling prophecy. As you see it, so shall it be. As you think it, so shall it turn out. So the power of your self-talk is really, really important. And here's the way to talk about this. I am in a skill-based sales profession that is not easy. Not many people succeed at this, given all the ones who enter it, and it's competitive. But I am working to master those skills. I'm building my competence. I'm increasing my knowledge. I'm building my skills greater, and I'm improving my can-do attitudes here. And I practice at this. I'm like a Navy SEAL, 18 months of training for every 6 months in the field. I'm like a professional athlete, hours and hours practicing my skills compared to the games that I play. So I'm practicing long and hard, and therefore I'm getting more competent. And as I get more competent, I feel my confidence grow. And as my confidence is growing, other people can feel it. They feel that positive energy, and therefore they trust me. They list with me. I'm taking a lot more listings. Those listings are leading to other listings and other referrals for listings. And I am doing what Gary Keller says, think big, aim high, and act bold. What does that mean? Think big means to see as possible that which is not now true. That's what think big means, simply that, to see as possible for myself that which is not now true. Aim high is that I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And act bold means I'm willing to do that which is currently uncomfortable. It's the courage word. Act bold means I am willing to try doing things that I right now don't feel comfortable doing, because I know that I will get comfortable. And as we say they say in the book MREA, money lies on the other side of fear. Success lies on the other side of fear. So if I'm uncomfortable doing something, if I'm afraid, I'm going to do it anyway, because that's what leads me to build my strength, my confidence, and my ability. So I'm going to think big, aim high, and act bold. And there we go.
Thank you, Dave, so much. Wow.
You're welcome. Welcome.
All of that information is fantastic. And you're just a wealth of knowledge. And I know we had at one point over 100 people here on the call. We maxed out at 100. So,
and also, and just they know that you're recording it so they can go listen to it again. I find that one of the best ways to learn is spaced repetition. And now particularly if they write me and they get the notes in front of them and they kind of have it there and then they listen to it again, then it starts to sink in, right? Starts to sink in even more. So yes, make sure they get the materials to me and that they can do the repetition.
Yeah, Dave, that's absolutely fantastic. So I know we're running short on time. I know we talked about going just to 2. Are you open to taking any questions? If not,
sure. No, I am. If you and your people have time, I'm here for you, for whatever time you have for questions or comments. I found sometimes when people share their ahas, it kind of triggers for other people. Gary Keller always likes to end training sessions by saying, what were your ahas? Because other people's ahas will trigger, other people in the class. So anyway, whatever anyone wants to either ask or share.
Awesome. So just in case you guys, again, if you didn't hear, we're going to be sharing the recording with you. Dave so graciously said that he would share the slides as well. So we will make sure that those are all at your resource. So please don't let any of the questions be about that. Okay.
Well, I just remembered though, they have to earn it. They have to send me their 3 ahas. They have to, because I'm one of these ones who makes people earn it, right? And I do it because actually it's good for them to do it, but I just want them to understand that everything in life requires work. You have to earn it.
That's awesome. Okay, so we'll go ahead. Let's just limit it to a couple questions here. So go ahead in our first one. You guys can either chat, type it in the chat box down there, or unmute yourself so we can see you. We want to hear from you. Questions, comments, pause.
I have a question.
Hey, Mona.
Sure.
Sure, go ahead.
So on the 10 things I will do for you on step 10, you had something talking about you provide kind of like tax information and etc. Is that the net sheet, or what information is that you
No,
provide?
no, there are, your title company or, your office will say, here are the closing documents that someone needs to submit to their tax prep person so they can do any of the tax consequences. So it's not like you're doing that for them. You're just gathering the appropriate documents that they will need to take their CPA or tax prep person, right? But you'll gather those for them. I mean, they'll have copies of them already, but you're going to offer that extra mile of you putting together the package they will need to take to their CPA.
And is that done when the sales close, escrows close, or is that
Yes,
done?
yeah, it's done. All those papers are done there. All you have to do is ask your broker or your escrow company, what would be the documents that they will need to present to their CPA or tax prep per person to show the financial transaction of the sale of their home.
Okay.
And that's all. And then just collect those together, do your own set of collecting them. What I found is really good is you collect those together, you're going to get their address to where they're moving to, because you always want to keep them in your database. Of course, they're going to be, even if they're moving out of state or somewhere, they know people back here, and you always want them to be in your sphere of influence. Never lose a person from your sphere of influence, no matter where they move, because they always know people in your area. So you will purposefully take those documents, put them in a file, a little tickler note to yourself, to at the end of the year or within the first month, January, to send that package and say, by the way, here's the package I promised of the documents you will need to do the real estate sale aspect of your tax prep, of your tax filing.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And I just have two more quick questions. The
Sure.
first one, when you mentioned that you should be following up with your sellers weekly, right now the market's pretty crazy. So right now with this market, would it be ideal to follow up with them once a day or twice a day instead?
I think you decide that yourself. You decide what is it that they need to know about, right? Now, obviously, if offers are coming in or there's showings or there's feedback from showings, then yeah, you do that right away. I mean, I know the best agents do feedbacks from showings immediately. And either they or their admin will call the other agent who showed the property and find out what the feedback is. And often that's very good, particularly if you're in a market that's maybe not as hot as yours and there's some feedback about either condition or repairs or pricing, right, that you can get back to your seller. But I think the general sense is that there will be a time they hear from you on a regular basis, whether that's once a week or twice a week or once a day. You say every day between 3 and 4, I inform my sellers as to the current conditions. If you think it requires that amount of urgency, my own experience is that it really doesn't. Let them know they can call you anytime, and you'll call them when there's something you need to report to them, like an offer coming in. And then, of course, then time is of the essence, and then you report to them.
Thanks.
But I think one of the things in this, you have to be a little careful. You don't want to overpromise things that you might not be able to deliver. So if you say, I will at least every 3 days, or I will every other day between 4 and 5 be calling you with an update. See, then that is on your schedule and you're doing that. Now you say to them, you can call me anytime if you have a question, but they'll have that security of knowing they're going to hear from you at 4, and then usually that's all they need to know.
Awesome. And then my last question is, how do you present yourself as a knowledgeable and reputable agent when you're new and you've never listed a home before?
It's who you're with. You say, it's what I said earlier when I was answering the question. I said, I know what I know and I know what I don't. If I know the answer, I will get it to you immediately. If I don't know that answer, I've got this incredible team behind me. It's the number one team in the marketplace. It's the number one company in the world, and I will get you the right answer. See, the things that, yes, you're working at building your competence. So put all of your eggs in the basket of competence. Learn the contracts inside and out, learn financing, learn property evaluation, do regular CMAs every day. You should be, any new properties that come on, we used to call it we had a little formula in Camp 443 for new agents. We said, if you will follow the formula of 10, 5, 15, 5 every day for 2 years, 5 days a week, your success in real estate is guaranteed. And what is 10, 5, 15, 5? It's 10 people added to your database, 5 people you call who you know and remind them you're in real estate, 15 thank you notes, and preview 5 properties and do a CMA on them so that you really get good at pricing. Now, the other thing I would do is, if you're a really good person at asserting yourself and getting out there and meeting people, then find another agent in the office, an experienced one, who will co-list with you. Say, look, if I get a listing and, and as part of my learning that I'm going to co-list it with you, and then you negotiate with them the portion of the commission you would pay them to co-list it. It'll be listed in your name, but they're your co-lister. They're there to help you with all these questions. And you can even say that to a seller. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, by the way, I am teamed up with, an agent with 30 years experience. So any issues that come up, we're going to solve together.
Thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate your time and everything that you presented. It was
Right.
really helpful.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I want to say, for everyone who's here, thank you for your attention and for your commitment to learning. This is not an easy business. A lot of people would say to Gary and I, well, it's not rocket science. And we would look at them and go, oh, yes, it is. Real estate at the highest level is rocket science. It's brain surgery. The knowledge you have to have and the skills you have to build are things most people can't do. And the courage you have to be in a business where you don't get paid till you get the job done. Talk about entrepreneurial. So we have great respect for the agents that are here and those that are committed to it and are building their competence, their knowledge, their skills. That's the whole key. So invest in yourself.
Awesome. Okay, we have time for one more question. One more question.
Can I go?
Who is that?
Tila.
Fila. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Hey, Dave, thank you for presenting this presentation. It's
You
awesome.
bet, Fila. Yeah.
So one of my big things right now is my mindset. And I have these goals, these lofty goals to own property, have investment property, have a good life for me and my family. And at the same time, I was listening to what you're saying, and you were saying come from a service mindset and not from a mindset of this is for you.
Let me be clear about that. I just taught a class to a team of people in New York City this morning called Getting What You Want. So I want to be really clear. No, you have every right to go after what you want. You just don't want in the listing to be needy, right? To look like you got to have this, right? Because that is going to lose their trust in you. No, there's nothing wrong, Fila, with going after what you want for your own goals. I mean, Mo Anderson's #1 goal was to provide financial security for her family. That's what Gary's #1 goal was to provide financial security for his family and be the best he could be. And both of them have created more millionaires than anyone else, have given more service to others. So when you're committed to your goals, like investing in property and providing for your family and becoming financially secure and all that, there is nothing wrong with those motives. That does not make you selfish, because to achieve those, you're going to have to serve people, right? You're going to have to serve your sellers and get their homes sold to earn your commission. You're going to have to build a reputation of somebody who really does what they say they're going to do. So no, this is not an altruistic business. It's not. This is free enterprise business. Now, some people talk an altruistic game. Okay, they can talk any way they want. But I'm telling you, this is a game of people who want to succeed for their own goals. And in order to do that, they know they will need to serve other people. Does that make sense, Phil?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so do not be embarrassed about that. And the other thing I want to say is, and it's what I taught this morning in that Getting What You Want seminar, you have to bring your long-term goals down to your short-term actions. Gary Keller and I call it goal setting to the now. That's why a 411 is so important. And that is, you're taking your long-term goals, but if they're just long-term goals, they're kind of, it's like dreamers, you know, there's dreamers and doers. It's wishful thinking. But what you're wanting to do is convert those long-term goals into, okay, what do I have to do in 5 years to be on my way to that? What do I have to do in 3 years? What do I have to do in 1 year? And now what do I have to do right now to be on my way to those goals? And when you convert those long-term goals to short-term actions and goals, then you're on your way.
Got it. Thank you. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. It's a great achievement game. This is a tough business. It's a business where we do really serve other people. It's amazing how much work real estate agents do without getting paid for it. It's amazing how much work we do before we get paid for it, how much work we do in the hopes of getting paid for it. And that makes us the most service-oriented entrepreneurial business there is. But that puts the pressure on us to make sure that what we're doing is leading us to the outcomes we want.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's just focusing my intention on helping people.
Yeah, I think that's it. But I would say it's okay to not even have that be your focus. Your focus is on being competent at real estate. And that means if I know my real estate, if I know the value of properties, if I know all the legal aspects, if I know the local marketplace, then yes, then ultimately I'm going to serve people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Good.
Appreciate you.
You bet. Appreciate you.
All right, anybody else have any additional questions? If Dave has a few more minutes, I am happy to stay and field those questions if you want to open up your mic.
I have a question.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Dave. This has been the most promising presentation I've seen so far from Keller Williams. So thank you.
Thank you. That's really good because Keller Williams has a lot of good ones. So
it does, exactly. And I've been to all the trainings from mega camp to everything else. So
yes.
This has been most productive. So my question to you is, like, as a real estate agent, a brand new real estate agent, what would be your tips for me to gain that confidence and that sense of security that I will be able to do justice in the best interest of my clients? Like right now, what I'm struggling with is that sense of, am I really made for this? Will I be able to do justice to them versus an agent who has been in the market for 30 years? And that feeling keeps me from bringing my best. So
yeah, I think your intention is very clear, and that is you want to be the best. And
yes.
You know you will take care of your clients. If you don't have the answer, you'll go get the answer. If something comes up that you don't understand, you'll go get the help. If we're working on pricing their home, you say, look, I'm going to take our situation to a little panel of really good agents I have, and we're going to see what their recommendations are for pricing, right? It's okay to say that you're part of a team that's going to service them, but you're the one that's got the full commitment, right?
Okay,
So that's one. Number two is, don't question whether you should be in this business. Give yourself to the end of the year. Just work at this business flat out. Okay. Build your competence, go to all the education, particularly the pragmatic education. You know, you have to be careful. A lot of the high-minded inspirational education kind of overwhelms us. Or a lot of the overly technological things overwhelm us. So make sure that you go and get to the broker classes and learn your contracts. Make sure that you get your financing, mastered, and make sure that you practice the art of pricing properties.
Definitely. Thank you.
Because those are the practical sides of this business, and you'll find your confidence grows. Just don't undermine yourself. It's not so much that you have to try and talk yourself into things or positively do it, but don't let your mind go negative. Just say, this is part of the game. And the other thing, it's like Gary Keller says, you fail your way to success. And this game of real estate is built with a lot of adversity and a lot of things that go wrong, right? Things that fall through. So don't let that knock you down, because that's just the nature of the game. Linda Mckissick said, the one who went from failing in real estate to success, she said, I had to learn that that if, you know, if I ask for people's business, most of them are going to say no. But I'm just going for the few that say yes. And the only way I get to the yeses is through the no's. So I'm just going to ask people, and I'm not attached to the answer. The more people I ask, the more business I will get.
That sounds great. Thank you. This is
You
amazing.
bet.
I'm going to
Yeah.
write all of this down and go over it every day. Thank you so much, Dave.
I understand. No, and also here's the thing, it's one of the advantages of being in Keller Williams. A lot of people don't understand. I mean, you know, we call our offices market centers, but I think they're energy centers. I think it's where agents, individual agents come and plug in and power up and achieve their goals, and they get all of the energy and support. There's so much sharing goes on in this company, so many, you know, people with positive attitudes, and just make sure that you are hanging around people who have positive attitudes and can do thinking. Okay, stay away from anyone that's negative.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dave. I mean, that sounds like great. I mean, now I feel like, okay, maybe I'm coming from a wrong viewpoint and I need
Well, you're
to.
not from a wrong, you're coming from a natural one. I think we all come from a natural one of questioning. You know, if we're humble in any way, or we kind of have that, you know, everyone has the worry circuit. And so it's easy to trigger into the worry circuit and the self-doubt. And what you work on is you work to minimize that, not shut it out, because it's there, but you try and minimize it, and you counter it with messages that are positive. I had to overcome cyclical depression in my life when I was in my 30s. For some reason, I would go up and down, not manic. I never got to the manic side, but I would do cyclical depression. And ultimately, I got in touch with a book called Feeling Good by Dr. David Burns. And in it, he talks about the 10 ways we talk to ourselves that cause anxiety and depression. And I realized that I was doing about 5 of those 10. And I stopped. I worked at stopping doing that, right? I worked at stopping my mind from doing negative thinking. And that made all the difference in the world.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll go read it this week for sure. I mean, I think I'm dealing with something similar, and this will be really, really helpful.
You're welcome. Great, it's all right. By the way, someone just asked, do I have a social media I follow? Well, you can go to Dave Jenks, Facebook, Dave, I always go by Dave instead of David. So Dave Jenks, my Facebook, it's open. You can watch it, but I don't do much posting on that. I'm not a social media guy, but I tell you what I am. I have a wonderful website called, it's just davejenks.com, and it has 9 categories of podcasts I've done over the years, some on personal development. I've done a whole series recently that are on spiritual, called The 7 Incarnations of God. I have several that are real estate, including my version of articulating the 6 personal perspectives. So, and that's all free. I mean, there's nothing there. You can just go and listen and download. And so if you want any more of that kind of wisdom, you know, feel free to go there.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dave. Is there a way we can follow your real estate talks? Like whenever you have a meeting, can we get on a list?
No, I would just go to davejenks.com. And the other thing is that the way I work is this. See, I care about the relationship of the owners and team leaders of our offices with the agents. So all of my work is done through the owners and team leaders to the agents of that office, right? This seminar is for you, right? For Coastal Properties, for Keller Williams. It's not for others, because I want to build that bond, because I think that's the most important one there is. I love all the big stuff Keller Williams is doing. I think command is the greatest thing. You want to master command. You want to learn how to use that technology. I think that what's going to come up next week at family reunion, you're going to want to go to. It's worth $100 or $110 or whatever it is. It's amazing. And the amount of quality of the content there, and you'll be able to go back and revisit it. All I'm saying is Keller Williams has so much amazing resources, but the thing is, where the rubber meets the road is in the local market center and the relationship with the local agents. So the reason I say that is that's where I do all my training. That's where I do all my training. And I'm not, putting out something else. But the stuff I have on davejenks.com, I think if you search through that and kind of just see if one of those podcasts, makes sense to you, then go listen to it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I look forward to it. I'm excited. I met you today.
Good. I'm glad you were here. Thank you.
Thank you.
To everyone, I'm talking
Thank you
here.
guys so much. Dave, again, thank you. Gina, thank you so much for being here. I know you're doing behind the scenes stuff, but
She is. And what's really fun, Gina and I do a seminar called Coming Out of Adversity.
Hey, Jose.
We have done this, and so we teach it together because we both
Sí,
met
sí.
each other.
Ya, te voy a mandar.
there we go.
Got him.
Right?
Got him.
Got him.
Okay, the subtitle of it's called Coming Out of Adversity, Homeless, Loveless, and Jobless. Because when we met, we were both homeless, jobless, and loveless. And so it was like perfect. We were meant for each other. So, but it's a fun session called Coming Out of Adversity. Yeah.
What a beautiful story. I always love seeing when couples work together like this in the industry. I think it's so special. But again, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Everyone for staying on the call, and
Okay.
a special thank you for answering those questions for us. Again, make sure you guys are reading and rereading the MREA and take all of these words that Dave shared with you to heart, because we know that we've seen this shift in the market, but we know there's a lot to capture. So thank you again. Get those listings. Any last comments, Dave? And we'll sign off.
Oh, just remember, write dave@kw.com and I'll send you all those things that I said I'd send.
Awesome. Thank
All right.
you so much.
Take care.
Yeah.
Bye, ladies.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me here.
Yes,
Of course,
thank you.
anytime. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right.